Thank you so much for taking the time to review this presentation and hear some new ideas for our volunteering processes. This will mainly focus on innovating new and exciting ways to engage our volunteers, along with creating a process that is more reflective of how we want to operate as an organization, efficient, and very dedicated to ensuring that our volunteers have the best experiences with us. So let's get started. Um, and the first central and most important thing that is going to be relayed in this presentation is going to be the needed efficiency for our nonprofit. So, what are some current problems that we've observed while handling our volunteers' experiences and learning and gaining feedback from them? Um, so there are no opportunities for volunteers to prepare and understand what their time volunteering will entail prior to the volunteering event. We are unable to measure a volunteer's knowledge and understanding of procedures, and there is currently no assessment option for potential volunteers to accurately suggest the best options for their skills and desired comfort. And as we go through the presentation, these problems will be more detailed. So, a potential solution we have for our first problem, which again is there are no opportunities for volunteers to prepare and understand what their time volunteering will entail prior to the volunteering event. Like many of you, I have many years of volunteering experience through AmeriCorps and various other student organizations. And one thing about volunteering is that sometimes you have no idea what you're walking into. And so while though you want to do a very good job and you want to help, sometimes it can feel as though you're being thrown in the midst of chaos. And we never want our volunteers to feel that way because those feelings can oftentimes prevent people from returning. So, one solution to this could be creating a video bank that highlights each responsibility of a volunteer for the corresponding volunteer assignment and assemble supplement documents that can address the questions and concerns of volunteers prior to their volunteer shift. And what this means basically is that someone can access our website and they can basically access a module that would be home to knowledge pertaining to each volunteer responsibility. Whether you're working in a warehouse, whether you're packing food, you can get the full picture of what your 4 hour, 6 hour, even 8 hour shift may look like with our nonprofit. So some options we have for potentially solving this would be creating a gallery on YouTube that has multiple videos segmented in playlists that can give a volunteer the opportunity to get a firsthand look into what our systems look like as far as working in the warehouse or potentially working in the kitchen. That way they can understand what it would be like before that day comes. Um, we also have Google Drive, which can be a place where we store our documents, videos, etc. Panopto is also another option. Basically, that would combine so many different options into one, along with Microsoft OneDrive. All of these different items can solve our problem that was outlined in a few slides ago. The next potential solution, which this would be able to address, the problem that we are unable to measure a volunteer's knowledge and understanding of procedures. That just basically goes back to the point where we can't reference and understand our volunteers before the moment that they step into our facility. Especially if they've never volunteered with us, we have no way to understand what they're comfortable with, how they feel about certain things. And that really needs to be solved because this can potentially give us the opportunity to understand the volunteer and know where their best skills will, best be utilized. So in addition to the video bank, there will be a multitude of modules for volunteers to complete to demonstrate their understanding of what will be expected of them as they volunteer. Having training modules can allow the volunteer to decide if their selected shift and responsibilities is something that they are not comfortable with, giving the opportunity to reschedule or alter their chosen assignment. Again, that goes back to many of us having various volunteering experience, whether that is outdoors, building, working with others. Sometimes there are things that people aren't comfortable with, and we want them to be fully aware of what their volunteering experiences will entail before they, step into our facility. That way, we don't have anybody coming in feeling like they can't work with us. And that, while that is justified, that can also throw off and derail the volunteering project, which we don't want to happen. So, some solutions to that, we have a few learning management systems that can basically take our volunteers and basically help them understand what their volunteering experience will be like. And that basically just expands previously our options of having a video bank, documents. This would basically kind of be the next step as a resource for a volunteer. And this is a solution again to the problem that there's currently no assessment option for potential volunteers to accurately suggest the best options for their skills and desired comfort. Again, as I stated before, we don't want anyone showing up day one kind of hesitant to work with us, disappointed that this information wasn't relayed to them as far as their experiences. Solutions to that could be designing an assessment that would help volunteers understand their interests and limitations, allowing Houston Food Bank to accommodate any desired changes prior to the start of their volunteership. We can also have an assessment that can help to gauge standout skills and abilities of each volunteer, keeping that data for future opportunities where volunteers can utilize them. So having that assessment can allow anyone who is remotely interested in volunteering with the Houston Food Bank kind of understand what they want before they even potentially go in and sign themselves up for a volunteership. This would basically just give them the opportunity to look in the mirror to understand what they're comfortable with and what they may not want to do. And also assessments can help understand what skills each volunteer has that can potentially benefit the nonprofit in the future. Let's say a year from now, we have more responsibilities open up. We have standout volunteers who have volunteered with us for years. We want to be able to potentially place them in different areas where those skills can best be utilized. More solutions to this, we have various different form options, such as JotForm, Google Forms, and Nation Builder. These can all help with assessing our volunteers as they potentially sign up with us to work different shifts. Now, throughout this presentation, did you notice that there was this item here with the animation and the bucks? And this goes into the BandAid versus the end game. We need to utilize free functionality to lay a solid foundation for long-term success. The ultimate goal for this change is to streamline the onboarding experiences for volunteers, and this will require future cost. So we've laid out different solutions to the problems before. and they're majority free options. But for what we want to accomplish as an organization over the next 5 years, having this different streamlined onboarding process for our volunteers can potentially increase volunteer signups and create even more efficiency within our shifts, so that way we have more productivity, there's more communication and understanding for what our volunteers want. And overall, this would drastically change the way our volunteer processes are currently happening within the organization. So, what does long term success look like? Well, modernize user experiences. So, we want to, since we are one of the largest food banks in the country, we want to reflect that within our website and the user experiences of our volunteers signing up. This is currently our scheduling website, along with information for our volunteer roles, and it can use some modernization and improvement. Again, as far as the information that pertains to what someone would be doing for a potential shift, this is the only description that they have, which is very unacceptable, considering that someone may sign up having a certain expectation when really it could be another, and that will only lead to frustration with our volunteers. And the next is going to be a united onboarding processes. This goes back to aligning everything so that way from start to finish, a volunteer can feel comfortable and prepared before they even come to our facilities to understand what exactly they will be doing. So let's give them the opportunity to look at various videos, documents, reviews, and then let's give them the opportunity to go through different training modules so that they reinforce their understandings. And then let's end it with an assessment so that way they understand what exactly they want and would be comfortable with doing what is offered by the Houston Food Bank. And assessment and performance-based leveling system. Again, that goes back to understanding our volunteers and knowing what skills are best offered with their, skills and abilities to do various things beyond what we currently offer with the Houston Food Bank. And potentially even a leveling system to honor our continued and dedicated volunteers, so that way they can even potentially get to a point where they can guide other volunteers along with volunteer coordinators. So who are our stakeholders? So our primary stakeholders are going to be our chief operating officer and our chief financial officer. It would be primarily these two gentlemen, because the chief operating officer, well, this would primarily be altering his sector of volunteers who come in and work in his facility. And by giving efficiency in his facility, he may even see growth and changes in his output, productivity, communication among staff internally, and volunteers coming in externally. And then we have our chief financial officer, which again, we want to think about that in-game long-term success. Instead of the current BandAid we have of free options, we want to invest in a system that can support the city of Houston, volunteers who come from all over to help with our nonprofit. And we want to continue to grow. And with that growth, we need to have a system in place that can definitely handle volume and what 2021, users of technology expect from one of the largest nonprofit food banks in the country. And secondly, the secondary stakeholder is you. And not just you, but other employees for the Houston Food Bank, children coming in from other schools volunteering, college students coming from universities. Anyone who's potentially viewing this will benefit from having this efficiency brought into our nonprofit. this will only help benefit everyone in so many different aspects, whether someone grandmother is coming in volunteer and they have a great experience and they share that with someone who's the president of a local university. Word of mouth is still one of the biggest marketing tools available. So when you create experiences that align with what we do with the Houston Food Bank, which is impact so many lives in the area, we need to ensure that those who are coming in feel confident and believe in what they're doing is making a difference while still having a comfortable experience. And in order to get everyone on board with the innovation plan, we're going to utilize multiple email campaigns and organize different, specifically internal meetings across multiple departments. So that way we can gain an understanding of what everyone wants to see from this innovation plan. Being that we're only focusing right now on volunteer experiences, this can potentially start a chain reaction to build and modernize all of our systems across the organization. And along with that, we also want to have a big push to get feedback from internal employees, board of directors, anyone, a volunteer from the past, recently. We want to get feedback from everyone so that way we can understand what exact changes need to be made. Thank you so much for viewing this presentation and taking the time to listen to our plan. We hope that we gain more feedback and engagement to get this going, and that way we can help everyone in the future, especially our volunteers who helps keep our nonprofit going. And again, you can reach me via phone or my email. Thank you again. I appreciate your time, and you have a great day.